Hey everyone, it's Tuesday night, surprise Tuesday, few chats, and I don't know how many people are out there today. I'm hoping for a good audience tonight. I know a lot of you send in some questions for Jack. Hello, good evening. Specky, I've got a few questions from you as well, so that's great. Nuva Putties, thanks for joining. Inda Paint and Paint Supplies, I guess that's great. Not noticed you before. Luxury Car Care, Jerry, how you doing, my friend? TJ, Tarek, not Tarek, TQZ. Yeah, we've got a good load of people. Customs just joined. Customs, do you want to send me? I'm going to send you a request. Hold on a minute. So we just send you the request. There you go. So as soon as you see that, we can hit the road. Hey!
What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
good.
so much for joining us and taking the time out of your day. What time is it there? About 2 o'clock or something, is it?
2 o'clock, yeah. I just took a late lunch.
All
As you
right.
can
Oh,
see, I'm
that's
in the break room.
you're very good. So we may see people come in there during the show.
They already took lunch, so we're good.
Oh, we're good. Oh, excellent. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. I've
Yeah,
been
man.
looking
Thanks for
forward
having
to
me.
talking to you about it because you're highly respected. So for those of you who don't know who I'm talking to Jack, and he's from custom underscore car underscore and underscore collision. So custom car and collision. So yeah, Jack, go on, give us a little bit of information about you because you don't look that old. So how long have you been in the business and how did you get into it?
I've been in the business since I was 21, I think. I started working on mini trucks out in the States. Like lowriders and mini trucks are kind of like a mesh type of group of people. We have the same kind of passion, low vehicles, just nice paint jobs and things like that. So I
Oh,
started
those
out
those
doing
aren't the
that.
ones that bounce or anything. They're literally just the really low, sort of like look like a low rider kind of thing, is it?
Yeah, majority of them use airbags suspension, and
Yeah.
then some guys put hydraulics on them. But the main thing in the scene is airbags. But I was into everything, so I dabbled with the hydraulics too and all that stuff. So it was fun, man. It was good stuff. But I got started out about when I was 21 doing that. Turned into a passion, and I decided, hey, I do this all day long. I might as well learn. So I went to UTI in Texas in 2007. I graduated. I came back to Orlando. The economy crashed, and I could not find a job. So I painted custom motorcycles for about a year and a half and worked at a restaurant. And I was so bummed. Go
So
ahead.
hold on a minute. What did you train as? So you said you went to UTI. So that you trained as what, a body person, or did you train as a like an all-round
Both.
tech? Oh,
I
okay,
wanted
okay.
I wanted to be a painter, but I realized that I did not like the chemicals at all. Like it messed with me. Right away,
Yeah.
I could tell. I was like, I'm getting headaches and stuff. And
Okay.
and back in the day, I wasn't very wise about the way that I protected myself. I would not
I
wear
don't
paint
think anybody
suits.
was.
Yeah. So ended up being where I would feel a little sick from it. So I decided, hey, I think I'm going to go the other route. And ended up getting into auto body around 2011. I want to say I started doing uh, heavier hits. I started working with a friend of mine from high school, and
Right.
they gave me a van quarter panel. It was the very first quarter panel I ever did, and it was kind of like they're like, "Can you do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do it," and had no clue what I was gonna do, but I just kind of remembered the stuff from school and was like, "Hey, okay, well, I know I'm supposed to do everything by the book. Do you have a page that says, what I'm supposed to do here?" And they would be like, "Oh yeah, okay." They'd give me something somewhat of a procedure, and I
Right.
would go by as best as I could. And it wasn't until about 2015 where I really started seeing the procedures and things like that changing, and grew to be a better technician by following them to the T, trying to make sure it's safe repair, things like that. But yeah, so I'd say I started when I was like 21, and then I'm 38 now. So uh, I ended up starting in this business around 2011, and it's been 10 years. So it's been great. I would say it's been longer because I've always been a car guy. So I'm one of those guys as a car guy. I go home and watch car shows and talk about cars to my wife, and she laughs at me. So
My wife switches off. So you seem to have come into it a little bit later. I mean, I know you like a car crazy and everything, but you sort of, if you went to college at 21, a lot of the people I've already spoken to sort of like 16, 17, they went straight into it. What happened between that period? Were you at school or college or
I made a lot of bad choices. That's
we
the
do that?
easiest thing to say.
Yeah.
I didn't like school at all. I was good at school. I just didn't like it. I dropped out of high school and I realized like I need to get a job doing, something that I love and I'm not going to work at McDonald's. So I got to figure something out. And that was when I started doing custom motorcycles. So I started working on custom motorcycles and mini trucks for a few years before I went to school, and then I realized I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the route I'm going to go. So it was kind of like, yeah, it was a late start in life. I always liked cars. I mean, I was always obsessed with the Lamborghini Diablo when I was a kid. So I had
Oh
the
yeah.
poster on my wall, and it was my dream car. So I
Is
had
that
the
the one they
art.
had in? Is that the one they had in Cannonball Run?
Yep,
That was a damn. Yeah, I know. I
yep, that's
love
the
that
one.
movie. That's a brilliant movie. Can't
It's
beat
such
the
an
movies.
ugly car when you look at it now, but it's still, it just said it had such an aura about the car. Like it just looked mean, the
Yeah.
name Diablo, and just knowing it was just mean sounding. And I actually got to ride in one and work on one when I was a kid too. So that was kind of cool. Just a local body shop that I would hang out at and kind of watch what guys were doing. So that was one of
It
those
was
things. It was a
it was
dream
the
come
doors
true.
that did it for me, just coming up and opening up like that. I love that.
Yep.
I had a friend in Kenya. He had an Alpha, and I can't remember what Alpha was, but this is going back a long time. So this is going back probably at least 25 years. And he was like the coolest guy because he basically modified this Alpha so the doors came up on the side
Nice.
and open. Oh yeah, I mean I don't know how he did it. I wasn't into cars back then, but it did look good. I mean it definitely made heads turn when he turned up at the clubs and stuff. Um, so have you been now for the last 10 years at the same garage, or have you been working in a different shop?
So I started at um, Reed Nissan, and I went from Reed. I worked there for 3 years with a good friend of mine, and I was on my own. That was when I first started on my own. I had been working before that for a year as like kind of like a helper, but really wasn't going anywhere, and I wanted to learn more. And I was like, all right, well, I'm
Mm.
going to leave and go somewhere else. And that's when I told the guys next door to the dealership that I was working at that I knew what I was doing, and they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." So they let me learn essentially. But I left there and I worked at another shop for 3 years and got some more experience and decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go back to the shop that I was at, and it looked like things were changing towards like a progression in the type of tools that you need in this business. So I
Right.
went back there and I worked there for another 3 years, and I decided I've been here at the shop that I'm at now. I've been here for a year. So I started October 7th in 18. So been a little over a year. But I love it here. It's great, great shop. We're a high-end car shop, so I get to work on really cool cars all the time, and that's fun. It's cool. I never used to like foreign cars, but now I'm like they've grown on me. I love the look of the Porsches and the Audis. I mean, they're beautiful cars. So it's fun. I love doing what I do, man.
So what's your average day then? So if you come into work, do you start early? Do you have a sort of 9 to 5 job, or is it a little bit more flexible than that?
it's 9 to 5. They're flexible in the sense that I could take lunch whenever I want and things like
Yeah.
that. They don't give me no troubles about that. They love my work here, so they're really good people to work for. They constantly are encouraging me on coming by and saying, "Wow, that looks really clean," and it's nice to see somebody really caring about their work, and I really appreciate that. It just makes me want to work that much harder for them. My owner, really cool guy, great backstory. He started this shop by himself and had a dream and a vision to work on the Audis and the Porsches, and he was Mercedes certified at one point, and so he did a lot of stuff that people we're like, why are you doing that? You know, and he's like, man, it's you got to see the vision, you got to see the dream, and that's really
Yeah.
encouraging for me because in the future here, I would like to open a shop. And I won't spill the beans, but it's coming, you know. So,
Okay. We'll
um,
keep that one zipped then.
yeah. But they're great people here. They've treated me really well, and I can't say anything bad about this shop other than the fact that I do a lot of the heavy stuff. Give me some light stuff, guys.
No, yeah, I mean, you do some amazing work in that shop,
Thank you.
you know, and clearly by the people that you've got following you, the what's it, 70 odd thousand, they're obviously learning from you, and that's phenomenal because you're passing that knowledge on, which, you know, kudos to you, really.
Thanks, man. That's the best part about this whole thing. That's the whole reason why I started the channel, man. I honestly like I was following you for a little while, and I was like, man, I was like, this is really cool to see somebody doing smart repairs and doing the things that aren't really talked about in the industry. Like
No,
a lot of guys really don't. They if they're done right, they're good. You know, they last. And a lot
yeah,
of guys look at it like, oh, that's a hack. You can't do that. And it's like, no, it's not true, man. You can do that. Like, there's a lot of things that we do that we're like, okay, well, you know, like I'm gonna cut this corner here, but it's gonna still be a quality corner. And people think, oh, but you can't do that. And I'm like, well, you do it on a daily basis when you don't have an option. Like there's no option to say, oh, well, this metal pulled a little hole in it. I got to take out the welder and weld up that hole. You know, as long as you're corrosion protecting the backside and you're doing the best you can. I mean, repair is a repair. You do it right, and it's gonna last forever. And if you half-ass it and do it where it's gonna rust or you're gonna have issues, you know, like you didn't grind the plastic properly and you didn't weld it back together. You know, I think I saw you talking to somebody about the difference. It was Jeff, and you were talking about the difference between plastic welding and um, just using a hot iron.
yeah,
And the hot iron is good. It works good, but you'll burn the plastic
that's right.
versus melting the plastic. And you know right away when you burn it because it doesn't stick. It just gets very brittle and breaks apart. It's kind of like when you use a welder, a regular MIG welder, and you weld something together, and you get a spot that's really hard, and then you got the metal right next to it, which is really soft. That weld is so hard that if you don't weld it properly, it's going to crack. You're going to have issues with the same way you would with plastic.
Okay, I'm not so good. I'm not good at all on metal welding, so that's something I've just learned there.
That's easy, man. You'll learn. Pick up a welder, and I guarantee you're a skilled man, so you'll be able to pick it up easily.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
got to
hard.
do it. It's not something I get involved in my shop at all, and I've sort of we've covered this a few times, but it's probably something I should just do just to say, yeah, I've done it definitely. I've got some plans for that anyway, so we'll see.
Man, trust me, it can't be that bad. If you've seen the video of my tailgate that I repaired that because only it was like nostalgia type of thing. Like I love the look of it, and it was actually the very first thing I ever welded. So it was really bad.
I haven't seen
I
that one. Is it?
was
Where's that one? How far back?
uh, it's not that far back. I have a couple of video. I have a IGTV video and I have a couple of reels on it. But yeah, it was like, man, this is pretty bad. I should have just bought a tailgate. I think I put 40 hours into this tailgate trying to fix it.
Yeah, but when you're in it, you're in it. You just don't want to give up, do you?
Yeah, I didn't want to throw it away, man. I was like, that's the first thing I ever did. Even if I sell the truck, I'll probably just take that and put a tailgate on it and hang that on my wall and be like, man, this is where I started. You know, this is super cool. So
Yeah,
it's
a
interesting.
reminder. Um,
Yeah.
send me a link. Send me a link to that later, Jack, so I can check it out. That'd
Okay.
be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you the only body man there, or are there a couple of other guys?
There's three heavier hit guys, and there's one teardown guy. He does some smaller jobs. Great guy. He's helped me out plenty of times. Just sometimes on these Porsches, there's so many plugs, and you forget one plug, and it literally won't let anything work on the car. Like the
Yeah.
ambient temperature sensor on a front bumper on a Cayenne will not let any of the crash sensors work because they're all connected in the same series. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. So he's like, yeah, I got you, man. I'll take that apart and put it back together for you. I'm like, thank you very much because I got to keep moving on something. And he's a salary guy, so that really, really helps. So,
Right. Okay. So what's a salary guy for us? Because that's not a term that I'm used to.
so he gets paid a specific amount each week, no matter what. So
Right.
he can do he can do 10 things, he can do one thing. So
Ah,
depending on
okay.
what it is, but he's not that kind of guy. He stays busy. So
That's
we got
that's
two
good.
guys like that. We have a guy who's our main technician who carries a lot of certifications. So that gives him opportunity to stop what he's doing and go help people with things. Like I had some trouble with the dent the other day that I stretched it a little bit and he was like, I got you, man. He's like, he showed me some tricks and I learned something new. I was like, oh, that was great. So it really is helpful for the shop. I mean, me being a flat rate guy, I kind of have to keep moving. I got to keep my stuff going. So it's a little difficult at times, but at the same time, it's like, it's okay. You're gonna make the same money no matter what if you were salary or if you're a flat rate because as long as you're moving, the hours may fluctuate from week to week, but if you look at the average, it always stays the same.
See,
So
that's a totally different world to me, I guess, because running my own little business is just me. Well, maybe I'm the same as you. If I don't come in and do any work, I'm not going to earn any money. So yeah,
yep,
it basically kicks your butt out of bed to say, you've got to get in there, you've got to do that job,
yeah,
and if you can squeeze that extra one in, squeeze it in, but without
yep.
stressing yourself out too much. So is there something you don't, something you, is there something you don't feel you're good at, and that you'd like to improve on?
Uh, I'd say if I had to characterize myself as a technician, I would say I'm good at almost everything. Like I can paint, I can do body work, but I'm not excellent at everything. I don't ever say that I'm the best or good at, the best at everything. I kind of like try to explain to people I'm really grateful for all the people that follow me and that have just shown me so much love and given me encouragement to start, showing more stuff. Um, but I would say that I'm good at everything, but I'm not great at everything. Like I can weld good, I can plastic weld, I can do body filler work, I can do metal work, I can do seam seal work. I think that'd probably be one thing that I say I'm decent. I'm pretty good at. Like I'm better than average, I would say. But um, painting, I'm not the best. That'd probably be something I want to get a little bit better at. Like I'm good with small stuff, but when it comes
Yeah.
to like larger things, like if I had to paint the side of the car, it would take me a day because I don't do it every day, but I think I could get to the result that I wanted, but it would be like trial and error, a couple throwing some things across the shop. Like, why did I do that? The first car I ever painted was a 72 Chevelle, and if you know how big those doors are on that car, I put a
No, I
run
don't.
down. It's a classic, muscle car, American
Right.
muscle
Okay.
car, and
Okay.
the door is about 4.5 to 5 feet long. And I put a run down 3/4 of that door because I got caught on the stand. So that was in my early days. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I just did that. I had to repaint the door. So, but
There's no way of flattening it out.
nah, no, it
No.
was bad. It was like I was young and I'm thinking to myself, I could just keep pushing through this. And as soon as I got caught on the stand, I'm like, I got it. And as I get to the middle of the door, the gun just stops, and I'm just like, oh crap!
Oh,
So it was good. It was funny.
it doesn't matter. It happens to everyone. I don't know what it was. It was something I did exactly the same, and just it snagged, and it just snags at like the worst point possible. And it's like, yeah, and you just got this big dollop of paint, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever.
Oh, I like it when the funniest thing was that I see it happening and I'm still holding the trigger, trying to push the gun further down, and I see the white buildup from the just so much clear on the panel.
I think
Oh,
we've all done that. We could probably, I bet they're all laughing there because I bet we can all relate to that. Absolutely.
yeah, man. I
And then,
mean, trial and error. You learn. You got to make
yeah,
mistakes to get better.
I just want to come back to your comment about being the best. I think, that, you know, I like to think I'm quite good at what I do, but I would also never say I'm the best because there is always someone better, isn't there? And there's someone you can always
Absolutely,
learn something from. So yeah,
absolutely, man.
I totally agree with you. What are your two favorite things about the job? And what is the one thing that you don't like about the job?
So I hate body filler work. I just don't like being dirty, man.
Yeah. Okay, I can
And
understand
it's
that.
such a dirty job. I chose such a bad profession for that.
Yeah,
But
that's the real.
I really love the finished results. I love seeing the customers like looking at it and like wow, like it looks like you didn't do anything, and like that just brings so much like joy to me, like knowing that the customer's back in their car and it's safe and that they're happy with the repair. Rarely you get some people who are just going to be picky no matter what, but when
Yeah.
they get in the car and they're like, this is awesome, man, like that you're just like you restored their faith in the fact that they got in an accident. And a lot of the times they're not treated good at most shops. They think that,
Mm.
they had a bad experience, maybe, someone, they think to themselves, well, shame on me, I shouldn't have gotten in an accident, essentially, is kind of how some people end up looking at it, because they're like, man, like, my car looks like crap. And
Yeah.
so that's the number one, the best thing about it. And then I guess number two, my favorite thing about this job is the people, man. Like you get to meet so many cool people. Like I met a lot of cool people along the way. There's been some real crappy people, but there's been some really cool people. Like you, for example. Like we don't
Oh,
know each other, but we get to talk
yeah.
online because there's this connection that we can all create in this community, and it grows the community. Like I somebody Eric uh, uh, Eric Hyde, he had posted
Yep. Yep.
about just negative stuff earlier, and I was like, man, I totally feel you, dude. I'm like, to get
I
some
didn't quite
comments where
understand
I'm,
that post. I saw it, but I didn't quite understand what it was about.
I think, well, I think kind of the way I interpreted it, what he was saying was that he was sick of seeing people responding negatively to corrective or constructive criticism. Like I think kind of that's where he was going with it. And I was
Right.
explaining. I think I just commented it in the sense I kind of changed subject a little bit, but I said, man, I see so much negativeness, like especially with the amount of followers. It just the more you see, the more negative you get. It's like you'll get like 5 good comments and you get like 10 people ragging on the one thing you did wrong, and you're like, man, I know. I hope I get better next time. Thanks for pointing that out. I was talking with
Yeah.
the Lumite guys, and they were like, like, what do you do when you get the negative stuff? I'm like, I kill them with kindness, man. Like, sometimes I get a little frustrated. And I'm like, I start typing. I'm like, what am I doing? Delete, and then I'm like, hey, thanks. Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna. You can't make everybody happy. You just do the
No.
best you can do,
That's
and you
probably
go from
quite a
there,
good
man.
thing. That's a good thing to take away, to be honest with you. You can't, because they do come through, and it's just how you handle it, and you just gotta maybe just switch it off, or like you say, kill it with kindness. You can't. What more can you do to that, really?
Yeah,
Not
they're
much.
gonna they're gonna get mad if you just say like, okay, they might respond back, but most of the time they leave it be. They go away. So
Yeah, I got to take that on board, because I do struggle sometimes with that myself.
man,
Tell us about your
it's
glue pulling. Sorry, go on.
oh no, yes, we just got to glue. I love glue pulling, man, and I tell everybody out there, I'm like, if you guys haven't tried this yet, get a hold of a basic kit, get you something to start with, and just go at it. Like I got an early chance in my online career to work with Kiko, and they are a great company. The guys are awesome. I really love the owner, Chris. He's such a down to earth guy. The main marketing guy, Brockton, super cool guy. It was funny because I called him. I had like 1,500, maybe 1,200 followers, and I sent him a message. He's seen a post that I did where I just bought the kit coming back from SEMA in 18, and he's like, hey, if you ever want a special discount, like we really like seeing your stuff posted, but hit me up. So I was like,
Yeah,
all right, maybe I'll hit him up one day. And then
yeah,
I had my second child, and I was like, man, I'm like, I gotta figure out how to do some other stuff. Like I gotta like learn how to like market myself as somebody who can, advertise for companies, whatever. Just try to do something because I can't afford these tools with 2 kids. so so I saw Gary V post something about like, what are you doing with your DMs? Are you sending DMs? Are you trying to talk to people? Are you networking? Are you reaching out to others? And I said, you know what, that's what I'm gonna do. So I sent out 20 DMs, and I got back 6 maybes and one yes, and it was Kiko, and they were like, hey man, try it out, see what, you do a review for us, and then tell us
mm,
what you like, and then we'll send you something. And then do another review. So I started doing some stuff, and the more I started doing, the more I was like, man, I really love this stuff. Like it is legit. Like it's not cheap crap. It's not,
No.
there's nothing about it that is uh, 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 fake. It's all really good stuff. Like a lot of the guys, a lot of the guys that use it, they'll tell you, man, they're like, there's nothing like it. You start. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've not actually used it, but I have seen a lot of their products, and I know, like, I've seen your work with it and their range, and it looks like they know what they're talking about, and that's
Oh
really
yeah.
what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
invited me to a class and I
right,
went out there and I learned so much just watching. I watched. They had a guy, his name's Gene Fetty, super cool guy, and then the other guy we call him Big Dent Dave or Fire Marshal Dave,
right,
because he actually burned the main guy for Keystone with a glue gun on accident, so that's how he got the nickname.
right.
Super cool guy, but they taught me so much that it made that experience a totally different world to me. When I first started, I was getting very frustrated. I couldn't figure out why the glue wasn't sticking. I bought the good
Mm,
glue. Um, I just thought, man, I'm not. I just maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not good at this. Like, and I just need to go another route. And I ended up getting better with it because I went to that class. And then all of a sudden, it was like a whole new world. It was like, man, every dent that I attacked, I'm like, I could do a little bit of this with glue. If I have to use a traditional weld-on puller, I can do that, but I can start this with glue and then keep my minimal corrosion on the backside, keep that to a minimal, getting as much as I can with glue. And then it
yeah.
started becoming like, well, what else can I do with this? Like, and I think my most successful to date glue pull was on an Audi A3 and a 2018 Altima or 19 Altima, where I pulled the rocker, and if we had to replace the rocker, the car would have totaled because it's a cheap car, and the customer just bought the car, so they're going to be
Uh,
upside down in it because they
yeah,
probably didn't have that much of a down payment. They probably bought the car at a high price,
yeah.
and now their car is devalued at that because of the accident. But how do we give them the best quality repair without having to change out this rocker panel? And it was with the glue. It was amazing. I used a frame rack actually and a couple tabs and some of their glue and pulled it. So uh, I highly recommend their stuff, man. If anybody's out
Yeah.
there looking to get,
Well, they do sell them in the UK through a company called TDN. So yeah,
yes,
I'll have to definitely look at it. Yeah.
I think the guy that sells it is Jason. Can't
Okay.
remember
I
his
don't.
it's a hard last name to pronounce, but
Is it?
he's excellent too. He's always traveling with them when they do the shows and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So he's a pretty cool guy.
Oh, I'll touch base with them. I've got a quick. I've just normally I wouldn't go straight to the custom to followers questions, but Autowell just sent one, and he might be sort of having a break. So the question he sent me was, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself with my own shop, working together with somebody who probably is watching right now. You might have asked the question, but but
Oh,
I see
with
myself working
Harrison,
together. Yeah, with Harrison. So he's going to be
cheeky
the guy
bugger.
actually. Yeah,
He just wanted a free plug,
that's
Harrison.
exactly. Yeah, man, he's a great guy. We met on Instagram and we became
Yeah,
pretty good friends and we talked quite a bit. And I think both of us have the same passion, which is to do a great job, give the customer 100%, and not only that, we want to do something for our families. Like we're both family men. We love our families. He just had a new baby, so it's exciting. He's got his second. I tell him, I'm
yeah.
like, yours are older, right? You have two,
No one. She's
one?
she's
Oh,
yeah, she's 26.
oh man, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I,
I
mine's
still can't get
still.
I still can't get over the fact that Harrison just almost photobombed it in the virtual way. Your live story, cheeky guy. I like him though. He's a great guy.
Great guy, man. Great guy.
Yeah. Oh well, that's something interesting then. So well, if I'm still doing this in 5 years, we're going to definitely have to have both of you on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, we could do
That'll
it.
be
We could do it in maybe 6 months
all right. Well, that then when you're ready, call me up and we'll fix a day for it
for sure.
because that'll be a fantastic little chat, won't it?
Oh yeah.
So what's your favorite gun well, because yeah, actually that's because you do paint. So what would be your
Hmm.
favorite gun and what's your favorite tool?
I'm partial to Iwata, so I like the Eclipse. I think that's like one of my favorite guns.
I
I
don't know
just
that
like the
one.
way it's a really cool gun. One of my friends actually turned me on to it. He's like, check out how the fan sprays, and I stood outside the booth and watched it, and it literally cones to the car,
Okay.
like the way it atomizes. I like the way it atomizes. It just works good for me. I was a SATA guy before that. Like I always used the SATA. I started out on the SATA. I started out on the 3000, I think.
Mm.
I think I started out on the 3000. The 2000 or 3000, I can't remember. But started out on those. Stopped painting for a while. I actually sold. I had a 3000, sold it. I had a what else did I have? I had a DeBell. I had a Tecna,
Yeah,
and it
DeVilbiss,
didn't.
yeah.
Yeah, not really a fan of that one, but it wasn't a bad gun. Just my
No.
technique is different, so it's everybody's.
Yeah,
It's fits whoever's technique, you know.
that's
And my
exactly what it is. It's not that the guns are bad, it's just that we all have a different way of painting.
Yeah, yeah. My paint teacher in school, he was like, "Look, you're gonna like something better than this guy, and he's gonna do better with this, you know. So whatever you gravitate towards, he's like, just stay with it and get
Yeah.
better at it, you know." My favorite tool, though, I would have to say is the Maxi Dent because its versatility. And again, I want to say this to the people who are watching, like, I'm not plugging these guys at all. Like, I do work with them. They don't pay me, but I make sure that I show their tools because their tools are amazing tools. I've had offers from multiple different companies when it comes to the type of tools that I get, and I'm able to show these tools, and I have to show them that I actually like them. Every time I talk to one of them, I tell them, look, if I don't like it, I'm going to be honest. You know, I'm going to give an honest review, or I just won't review it. Like, you know, like
I
if you
totally, yeah, I see, I understand totally, because if you're using it every day, that there is the credibility, isn't it? It's if you're not
exactly,
just, you could talk about something and say, oh, this has sort of come out and I've seen it and this is on the market, but it's the
yeah,
tool that you go back to every day that that's the tool, isn't it?
that's 100% correct. You know, and there's another company I just started working with them, H&S Auto Shot. They make some really good tools. I love their stud gun. I actually got one now because I
Is
liked
that
it that
the
much.
is that the Ali one?
Yep, that thing
Yeah,
is
that looks
amazing.
really smart.
Yeah, it was really good, man. And like I said, like all of these companies though are great companies, and I love working together with them because they produce and they make such great equipment, and they stand behind the equipment. That's the thing you don't get in every company.
No.
I like quality tools. Don't get me wrong. Like we have a place in the States called Harbor Freight. I don't know if they have those over there, but they
Uh,
are like
I-
cheap. They're cheap Chinese tools, right? They're getting
okay.
better. They make some stuff that's decent, but they're cheaper tools. You know, like if you're starting out, they're great to get for a budget. But I I love the high quality equipment, man, and it's just nothing like a high quality equipment with a good company. You know that you're like, man, I feel backed by this company when you use their equipment.
Yeah, I got that feeling as well when I spoke to Jeff earlier, last week. That's kind of how I felt that he came across about the company. You just felt that if there was going to be an issue with it,
Yeah,
you could pick the phone up and it just gets sorted. And that's, downtime is money time. So
yeah.
you can't afford to have that downtime because something's gone wrong or you just can't get the backup. So absolutely. Can you just quickly, because Specky just said there that he watched the video on the alley welder. Can you just, some of the people may not have known what that was, so maybe just briefly touch on that
So it's a
and why that.
stock. It's a stud gun for aluminum, which normally a lot of people. So let me preface this like with the preparation because I think that any gun that you use that is an aluminum stud gun, no matter what it is, I've heard multiple different stories about this one doesn't work, it doesn't stick, you're having issues. The biggest issue that I've seen is people with the prep work. You don't want to prep it with a grinder. You don't want to take the 60 grit on your grinder and go ahead and scratch up that the same way you would with steel. And I would
Right.
recommend even not doing that with steel. I would say if you're going to do that with steel, you're going to have some same issues with adhesion and with the weld where the piece welds to it. But it's a great tool. It's a stud gun that does aluminum and steel. It comes with some nice little pullers attachments that you can put to it. It has a key attachment for steel, but the main thing with aluminum is just screw on studs. So you weld the stud on, and then you have like a little eyelet that you screw to it, and you can slide a steel rod through there and get decent holes on it while you heat the panel and things like that. But number one preface for any aluminum repair is the prep. So I've experienced great success with this thing. I actually challenged this tool quite heavily with the quarter panel that I was pulling, because it was in about maybe half an inch, and I got it to come out within an eighth. So when I finally put mud on it, I was within an eighth of an inch to where it was close to the door. And the crazy thing about this job is it was such a rush job, and I had no time to really kind of prep the thinking of how I was going to go at it. I just went with what I know, prepped the panel. So I sanded it down with 120 grit, and then I came back and with the key with aluminum to any successful aluminum pull is using a stainless steel brush that's dedicated to aluminum to clean the aluminum before you put the stud on there. Because what ends up happening is after you sand it, like almost immediately, oxidation happens and the aluminum won't sit. The stud won't stick to the aluminum. And then you have two different types of studs as well. So, I mean, those are types of things that you have to kind of look into. Like, one of them is a magnesium coated aluminum, and one of them is just a regular aluminum stud. And you can test those out on the panel and see which one sticks best. But again, the keys to success are: don't use a grinder, use 120 grit or higher. I would go, the highest I would go would be 180. But you can go 80, but 120 is just kind of like it's right in my wheelhouse, man. I love that grit. It's just something
I like 120. Yeah,
it doesn't leave scarring behind like 80 does, and then the painter hates you if you use 80 grit and you're like, hey man, here you go, I'm ready, and you 320 it, and it's like there's this giant 80 scratch right through the middle. And he's like, yeah, I primed it and it sucked back in, and I got a giant crater in there now. So love your painters, guys. Use 120 grit. But yeah, it's all in the prep. But it's a great gun, man. It does both steel and aluminum. I look forward to showing some more with it here soon. So again, another great quality company. So
just talking about companies, let's just take a little jump back to Denfix, because you also have you got it probably about a month ago, but I know you've been waiting for it for a while. Is their plastic welder?
Yes.
So
yes.
And I sort of went through a video today of where you put it together. And it looks like a really smart piece of kit. I like all the different. I know I spoke to Jeff briefly about it last week, but I knew I was coming on the show with you, and so I wanted to talk to you more about it. And I just like the different features that come with it. I didn't even realize it had an airless welder on there as well. I thought that's pretty clever.
It's such a nice thing to have, because you have how most of them have the heat shield around them, and then you can have like a spot where you can set them in place. It has the spot for it has a spot for both of them, so you can have them both heated up and ready to go, and then start your plastic welding, get it to where you got your new plastic fused in with your old plastic, come back with your hot iron, and come back and smooth everything out really good. And then literally 90% of the time you're DAing it and you're good. I mean, once you got a DA on that thing, it's flush. I mean, I hardly ever use filler on bumpers. When you need to, but with that tool, it makes all the difference. I did a small video with their flat iron a while back, and that was it was a Mercedes bumper, and it had a hole punched in it, like about that big.
I think I saw that one.
It was dented good too. Like, it had a nice dent in it. So I used the flat iron, and the way I use the flat iron is I kind of use it. I use it differently than I was taught originally, because when I was taught originally, it was kind of like V-groove everything, which is good when you're adding plastic. But when you're trying to just fuse it back together and you V-groove it, you're putting thinner material. You're making the material so thin that you're going to have issues if you try to push it. Like if it's got a dent and you're pushing from the backside. So what I end up doing is I I push it back together. I use a hammer and dolly, and I dolly it out flat so that the plastics are nice and close together. And then I come in with the spade tip, and I start dipping the spade tip in to the plastic so that it starts to melt. And right before it gets to that burning point, I move it down and then do it again. And it's kind of like you're stitching in, the plastic.
I was going to say stitching.
Yeah, then I come back in and I smooth it out. And from doing those, I've had good experiences. And then and as an added protection, I'll come to the backside of it and I usually heat it up and put like a nice little coat on the back. So usually that's kind of how I do that. That's one of the steps.
So when you say coat, for those who might not understand it, you'll just weld a reinforcement ribbon on the back. Yeah? Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
So I understand what you're saying, but some people may not. So I try and sort of cover those sort of bases as well. So yeah, I mean I really like that tool. I love plastic welding. It can be really strenuous sometimes, like with everything in our job. But the results, you look back and you think, I did that. I'm happy with that.
Definitely.
So
definitely, it's so satisfying.
So you've got a good range of tools. I'm going to now have to sort of make these questions shorter because I want to try and fit in everything. Okay.
Okay.
And we're only at number 7, and I've got 11 plus the ones from the people watching it. So
I talk too much.
No, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. We just run out of time. So you've got a lot of kit, but if you were to be offered any other piece of kit, and they said, Jack, you can have whatever you want, what would you choose?
Yeah. So like anything, or anything, just like hand tools, hand tools, or like major equipment.
Yeah, anything.
So I really love Spinizzi's setup, their frame machine, and I really like the car liner setups. So if I could have any piece of equipment that I could get, it would be like the Spinizzi stuff, the frame machine. They just did a video on it, man. It was just like mind blowing how easy it looked to set up. It's like drive the car on. It's got the removable pieces. You remove them, and then it has literally like a crank, and you set the bar in place, it cranks it into place, you tighten it down, done. And I'm like, man, sometimes I'm like, that would be so sweet to have, because it's so nice and such a cool tool. And I love heavy equipment, especially because that's part of the reason why I got into this, is because just being able to cut cars apart and do all that, it just that's always intrigued me. And then you grab a car and you're literally stretching it back to where it needs to be. So that's really cool.
It's amazing what you can do with the right pieces of equipment and the knowledge, obviously the skill to go with it. I mean, if you have the equipment but not the skill, then it doesn't quite work the same, does it? But the Spinizzi, I mean, there's a lot of really great equipment that comes out of Italy. Definitely, from compressors up to like that big jig, spray booths, all sorts of stuff comes out of there. Yeah, really, really impressive, some of the stuff. What's your most? Well, it's not. You don't know who watches this. You don't know who's just heard you put in your little wish list. Christmas is coming up. Harrison's going to buy it for you.
Hey, I'll hold him to that.
What's your most memorable job, and what's your least memorable job?
So like as in like good results or bad results?
Yeah. The one that you walked away from and I thought, I really love that. And then the one you sort of crawled away from and thought, I don't ever want to see that one again.
I think, let's see. So I'll start with my least, because I know that one right off the top of my head. So in 2012, I had a Honda Civic that was hit so hard that it broke the dashboard, and broke a motor mount on the opposite side that it hit, because it literally bananaed the car. So the shop that I was at was a direct repair facility, which if any of you guys are at those, like I get it, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not knocking that type of job. It just, they made me fix this car, and this car was not a fixer. It should have totaled. And I had to put an inner and outer rocker reinforcement. I had to put a B pillar. I had to put and it was only a 2-door. I had to put a pillar, inner and outer, the skin, the door. I had to put a quarter panel on this car. This car should have totaled. but but they saved this car. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I messed up major on that car, and I will admit that to the world out there that, I made the biggest mistake ever. I got frustrated because I was being rushed on the job. I was the third person to touch it. The guy who tore it down quit, so they were like, "Hey, guess what? Here you go." And I got a car with a bunch of bolts on the floorboard. They weren't even organized. The dashboard was out. Everything was just sitting in the car, and I was like, "Oh no, what do I do with this?" I'm like, "All right, whatever." Pulled it, cut it apart, got everything in place, and then set it down and said, "Hey, I'm going to jump on this other job. I need to move on some of the smaller jobs and keep them moving through the shop." And 2 days passed by, and the manager came over and he's like, "You need to get on this job. You need to get this thing finished." And he got in my face and he got real mad. And I was like, "All right, man, fine. I'll get on this job." So I literally slapped it together, didn't fit the door like a dummy, my fault. Welded the side on this car, everything lined up, structurally lined up, but I didn't check the skin. And when I didn't check the skin, I put the A-pillar skin about a quarter of an inch too far back when I welded it in place. And the quarter and the door, when I went to shut, overlapped by about a little less than a quarter of an inch. And there was no fixing that. You can't, I know I'm not going to ream the hinge. So I was like, "Oh crap." And I told the manager, and I said, "Look, man, I just screwed up big time. I got to cut that thing back off." So I had to cut it back off, take another part, get the part, and put the part on the car and put it in the right position. And it was just a nightmare. That was one of those jobs where I was like, I really never, ever am going to do this again. I put a post up about lining parts up in a car, and I was like, that was the one I learned the lesson from.
Yeah, it's everything is. But but if that was 2012, and you said in 2011 you'd sort of started this properly, you'd only been
Yeah.
into it really a year. So I think we can let you off on that, can't we? I mean, that's a learning.
Yeah, and at the time at that shop, not to knock any of the guys that were there, but they were really old school techniques and they didn't really do anything different. Like they were, "Yeah, heat it with a torch," and I'm like, "No, you can't do that anymore." It's not the 80s. So you
Yeah.
can't do it. But, yeah, I mean, I say 80s, but people still do it, but not as much, I guess. But it
No,
was one
I
of those
think.
things like, miserable.
So actually, that's well. I was going to ask you, have you ever been defeated by a job? But I would have thought by the sounds of it, that should have been a job that defeated you, but you didn't let it defeat you. So
Nah, I couldn't give up, man. I'm like, I screwed up. Like, it happens. And the guy that was there, he was an old school guy, but he was really cool. His name was Pat, and he's like, "Look," and then actually, I'm sorry, it was this guy. His name was Lewis, and old body man from Puerto Rico. Dude was super cool. He looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing, man?" Because this is after I had to cut back into it. And he goes, "Look at your area. It's dirty." He goes, "Pick it up." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, man?" And I was pissed. I didn't want to hear it. And he says, "Pick it up, man." And I said, "All right." So I picked all the stuff up and I left a few things on the floor. He comes over and he goes, "You didn't pick your damn area up." And he goes, starts picking stuff up. And he goes, "Listen, Jack." He's like, "You're a good tech." He's like, "Yeah, nothing to worry about, man. You're going to grow." He's like, "Clean your area, clear your head, and get back on it. You'll be fine. I'll be right back over." And he came over and he helped me and he totally changed the way I do things nowadays. My everybody I know who's ever come and worked with me now, they're like, "Man, your area is clean." I'm like, "Yeah, there's a reason for that." I screwed up majorly, and this guy taught me a huge lesson, and I'll never forget it. It was one of those things that's like always stuck with me. Keep a clean area, clear your head. Clear your head, and
That
it was simple.
Yeah, that is true because I'm not the tidiest of workers. But I find that when it gets a bit out of control, I am literally all over the place, and
Yeah,
you struggle to focus on what you're doing because
100%.
there's like shit everywhere. So, but when you but when you clear it up, it's really weird. It's almost as though you can come back into, just like you said, you just refocus again. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because that is true. Let's all right. Look, we've got 12 minutes left, so let's go to a couple of questions.
Okay. Sorry.
Um, that's all right. Jerry said, what make of car do you like to work on most of all?
My favorite car would be the Audi S lines, the usually like the S5 or something like that. Like I really love the way that those look and the design of them. It's probably my favorite car. I like the four door. I like the RS5. That's like my favorite one out of all of them. just the design, the size of the car, the powertrain, all that stuff is just by far my favorite car. It's definitely my favorite car.
All right, there we go. Now, Jerry sent 3 questions, so we're going to rabbit through them. What's your favorite tool? We've done that one. That's cool. What's your favorite part of bodywork? Welding or Bondo? So we know it's not Bondo.
Welding. I like welding.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the best, but I do love doing it. There's just something about fusing metal together and sparks flying and you feel manly and you're like, all right, that's great.
Yeah. Like some ad or something like that, like the Coca-Cola ad where you just, all right.
I gotta strike a pose and start some welding.
Yeah, you're going to get a whole different audience, Jack. You just get some dungarees or something, in the hot summer, some sweat beading down your face, and don't worry, you're sorted. You'll be overtaking Jerry soon on followers. They may not be interested in the work, but they'll be interested in the sweaty welding mechanic behind it.
Jerry's a great guy, by the way, man. I just want to say,
yeah.
like, I met him early on here. Like, I think I just started, and he was working, and a mankini. I just seen his thing on there. Yeah, I'll wear that. No, but he's a great guy, man. One of the first few people I met on here, really like laid back. I was like, hey, man, you got a good following. How'd you start? He shared tips with me and was just really chill, and we kind of talked about our lives and the directions that we want to go and things like that. And ever since then, we share tips with each other, especially with the social media stuff, so. Really great guy. I just wanted to say that. There's a lot of cool guys on here, man.
He knows I'm only ripping me. He is a good bloke because I spoke to him, and it's actually because of him that I know you and that we're talking today. So, it kind of all put together. Specky the painter, he said, if Jack had to choose only one tool, bit of equipment. Oh, no, we've done that one. What's your favorite color?
Green. I like the grabber green color. Like, I've always been a fan of the grabber green. It's obnoxious. So like most managers come in and they see it on my toolbox and they're like, So that's why I bought it. Actually, it was a boss that I didn't really particularly care for, and he's seen it and he's like, I can't stand all these red and yellow and blue boxes. And the Snap-on guy came and he's like, I got a deal, man. He's like, no one wants to buy this box. And I was like, I'll take it. As soon as I saw the color.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So and it just stuck with me. Yeah, it's like a very like a bright fluorescent green, kind of like. I
think I know it. Yeah, I've seen
similar to that green.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. I got it in the background there. Now Dent Fix. I'm not quite sure about this one, but So Dent Fix Jeff, he asked me to ask you this question: are those shorts he wears in all his videos OSHA approved?
Probably not, bro.
You better just say what OSHA is.
So OSHA is like they're like a safety company. They come around and make sure that you are checking all your P's and Q's when it comes to safety. You're not, polluting the environment and things like that. But they want you to wear like steel toe boots and things like that. So yeah, I wear tennis shoes. They're actually like Reebok work shoes because they got good grip and they're comfortable. And I have shorts on every day. If it gets to the 40s here in Florida, which is rare, but it does occasionally get to the 40s, I might put pants on, but usually by the afternoon it's in the 60s. So I'm like, man, I'll be good. I'll just wear a sweatshirt. my friend Collision KD, he's every time he's like, man, that's a really good job. He's like, you did a great job on that. He's like, but why are you wearing shorts while you're welding? I'm like, I can't wear pants, bro. I just can't do it. And he's always cracking jokes. Jerry too. Jerry's always messing with me.
Have you got burnt yet?
Oh man, all the time. I've learned proper stance, so you learn how to stand funny so that you don't burn yourself or get a slag piece down in your shoe. So, but yeah, it's a staple. Can't not wear shorts. It's Florida, man.
Yeah, I know, but yeah. I got to cover up. Do you 2 questions, right? So we'll do the final 2 questions, then we'll just go to mine and then wrap it up. Not because I don't want to talk to you, just because I don't want to lose this, and we've only got a certain period of time. Do
Gotcha.
you like the new Stanliner rods? That was asked by Carotech. Do you know what those are?
Yeah, those are awesome. So I just got into PDR. I just started working on practicing. My wife's car has some hail damage, and I'm fixing to pull it in and start working on it because I've got a good amount of practice in. But if anybody is getting PDR rods, uh, Mike, he recommended those to me. It's Heavenly Hail Repair, and man, by far, like it blows my mind how good they are. Like I told my boss one day, I was like, "Hey, I can handle that dent. You want me to fix that?" And he's like, "Sure." So he gives me I think it was a Cayenne, and he's like, "Go ahead and fix it." I threw my light on the door, and 5 minutes later, I finished it done, and it looked great. And he's like, "Man, that's pretty cool." He's like, "We're gonna have to have you do that more often." I'm like, "You just got to pay me like a PDR guy then."
Yeah, yeah, good money.
So, yeah,
Um,
but yeah, they're great.
I'll I'll have to grab a link or a name from you afterwards because I'm not aware of those ones.
Okay.
I've got a question here from I think Bahrain Spare something. I can't see the whole thing. What is the best way to prevent rust on metal? That's quite a good question.
So when you're doing filler work or anything like that, you want to be sanding it and coating it as quickly as possible. So one of the things that I do when I sand the car down is I sand the car down, usually 120 grit, and then I take it. If I have to feather out my edges or something like that, I'll feather the edges out in 180, and I end up coating the panel with filler almost instantly. I clean it first, clean it really good until the rag is white and it's not, showing any signs of dust or paint or metal dust or anything like that. Clean it really good, wax and grease remover, dry the panel really good, come right back, lay your filler on top of that, and then start working your filler. And then you would usually within, I think it's 8 hours, you want to have that panel primed and ready to go. So if it's a big filler job or something like that, you're doing that, or you're changing a panel, you want to get that thing coated as quickly as possible with filler and with primer in the steps, in your proper steps in order. But if you are doing like a repair where you're welding a panel on, you want to use weld through primers, things like that. You want to coat the backside. I use zinc weld through primer. It's the least corrosive. Copper weld works fine. It's literally like a smidgen less corrosive because it's copper and you're using dissimilar metals, but zinc works the best for me, and I haven't had any issues with it. There's also cavity wax. Cavity wax is the number one thing like that people forget to do. It's
Yeah.
the car as soon as it comes back from paint. Like I literally am running the long wand all the way through, and one of the things is if you ever get re-inspected and they don't see cavity wax in there, they know you didn't even attempt it. But if you do attempt it and they say, "Oh, well, it popped through with rust or something like that," and you say, "Hey, well, I attempted it. I attempted to put cavity wax," you can't get in trouble. You tried to do it. Sometimes it's not exactly reachable. You're doing your best to get to it. So,
Okay. We have 1 minute, Jack. 1 minute, okay?
sorry.
This is the final thing. No, it's only because I don't want to lose this video. Finally, do you have a tip you can leave us with? I know you shared loads, but do you have one?
Always pay attention to the people around you. Learn from them. Grab everything you can, and when someone says, "Hey, I do it this way," don't discount it because you haven't tried it or you think it's a hack move or something like that. Just try it. If you like it, use it. If you see something that you can modify it, make it your own. Do the best to learn from everybody. It doesn't matter if you like them or don't like them. I can do a door skin without any filler, without sanding the panel or doing anything like that because of a guy that I didn't like, but I watched him and I said, "You know what, man, he's really good at this. I really want to learn from him." So I swallowed my pride and didn't say things that I wanted to say sometimes, but I learned from him. And that's what I would say to everybody out there. Just learn as much as you can from everybody that's around you, grow and be a better tech.
There we go. We can't really top that. Jack, I'm going to say goodbye. I'll catch up with you later. Thank
See
you
you
so
later,
much
man.
for your time. I don't mean to sound rude. I just really don't want to lose you.
Gotcha, dude. See
All
you
right,
later,
you
man.
need to,
Have a good
so
one.
you need to disconnect because I don't have a disconnect on mine.
See you later, man.
Bye bye. Right, so everyone, there we go. That was Jack. He was absolutely fantastic. I'm talking really quickly because I'm going to just cut this off now so we don't lose it and we can save it. Thank you so much, and we'll speak to you all soon. Bye bye.